Hello there, you are with us on the Female Founders Virtual Summit Business Kickstarter virtual conference for female entrepreneurs worldwide. I'm Lena Benjamin, host and creator of the Female Founders Virtual Summit and the Empower Her Global podcast. Our female founder masterclass speaker is Shelby T. She's a co-founder at Blackstorm Consulting based in Singapore, Southeast Asia. Now, Shelby has 7 years of experience in the cutthroat world of retail marketing, sorry for that, and project management. She has managed roles covering project planning, crisis management, event marketing, and sponsorship. Now, she's involved managing and working with multiple stakeholders. Shelby takes each stakeholder's interest and work with constraints to deliver the best for all parties. Now, during this masterclass with Shelby, we're going to be looking at how to scale a business in Southeast Asia, because that is Blackstorm Consulting expertise. So thank you very much, Shelby, for being here. How are you doing?
Great. Over here is a Wednesday over here, so it's around 6:30 p.m. So most of the time, because we are entering into Q4, so we have a lot of business are planning for year 2020 or their expansion plans, and we also have a lot of overseas clients, like for example US or Europe, that are also entering into Southeast Asia. So maybe today, let me share a little bit about what my experience and also about Blackstorm and what is our work that we've done in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, sure. Which is obviously one of the first questions that I was going to ask you. What do you do at Blackstorm Consulting?
Yeah, so in Blackstorm Consulting, right, we are a boutique growth consultant. So we actually focus on just growing the business itself. So in growing the business, right, there is various elements involved. So it can be like corporate strategy, it can be about profit management, or it can be our investment management, because we do have stakeholders that are investors themselves. They actually invest in company, but they do not know how to grow the business itself. So we are focusing mostly on 4 different sectors like fintech, gaming, technology, media, and telecom. In the short form, we call it TMT, and we also work with manufacturer. Okay, so for us in Blackstorm, right, when we grow your business, there is 3 levels that we are talking about. Okay, the first one is you are growing, we enable the business to grow to the next level. Okay, a lot of businesses, especially in Southeast Asia, they are mostly towards the family oriented. That means their family business. It can be owned by like dad or even uncles. So when they have this passionate or they have this mission to pass down to the children or their cousins, they actually, the younger generation, usually we do not want to take over, because to us it can be about financial sector, but they are not in the fintech. So to them is the business is not sexy enough, so they do not have the ambitions to take it over. So this is the first. Second is a lot of Southeast Asia's business, right? They started off as a very small and medium enterprise. However, down the road, they actually grow into like MNC or a big size corporate. They do not know how to manage the business or even grow the business. So we are here to actually push you to the next level. So this is the first layer that we are talking about. So the second layer of growth we are talking about is entry to different markets. Okay, so it can be, for example, a Singapore company. They actually have a lot of market traction in Singapore itself. But knowing Singapore, we are relatively small. We only have around 5.6 million of population. So for us to actually grow our business, we need to look regional. Okay, so regional usually will go for our neighboring country like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. So we assist company for their market entry in the Southeast Asia. So this is the second layer that we actually are looking in terms of growth. The last layer that we are talking about growth is actually we are bridging between the startup and also the small medium enterprise to the big corporates. Okay, why? Because over this, I think in the last few years, right, a lot of people, a lot of businesses know they need to actually provide customized or personalized kind of product offering or service. But big corporates, they themselves, if they do not have an innovative team, it's very difficult for them to localize their products. So what they did is they will actually do collaboration with the small local startup or SME, we call it, or to actually bundle their services together to actually test out markets. But they do not know who to reach out to. So that is where we actually come in to actually bring them together to see that how are they going to grow their business. Because from a startup and also a small medium enterprise perspective, it is a very honor to work with big corporates and hopefully to actually bring the businesses they are offering to other target audience that they do not have.
Let me just interject you there to ask you a bit more questions and break down what you're saying, right? Because there's a lot of information there, right? So SME, for female entrepreneurs who don't know, and I'm sure you do, I'm sure you must know, is small, medium-sized enterprises. And obviously what Blackstorm Consulting do is to get you, as they were saying, from a micro level into a small level to a medium-sized level, and then potentially look for you to work with larger corporations and help you to expand within that particular region of Southeast Asia. And obviously you've spoken about looking at other businesses out there who are wanting to come into the Southeast Asian region because there's a lot of business to be done there. Tell us a bit more about how you connect those small businesses that want to expand with the help and the Goliath nature of these corporations. How do you help them to sort of partner up and to expand both the small business and to give the large corporation that may not have their expertise in-house, but they're looking for a smaller organization to sort of partner up with? How do you do that?
Yep. Maybe let me share a little bit about case study so that you can actually visualize better. So for Blackstorm, right, Lenovo is a laptop. Many people actually view Lenovo as a laptop kind of manufacturer. So to them, I actually consider them as big corporates. So under Lenovo arm, they actually have Motorola. Okay, they recently just took over the Japan market. They brought over Fujitsu, and also they are also in the IBM laptop. Okay,
because IBM took over from. Did they buy Lenovo?
IBM. Lenovo bought.
They bought them, didn't they? Yeah.
Yes, correct. So actually, Lenovo is a Chinese company. A lot of people might not, because they position themselves as a US company, but actually they are actually a Chinese company. So for them is they actually focus a lot much more in the Asia. Okay, so we work with someone from Singapore team that actually manage the Asia operation, excluding the China, because China they themselves have a team to run for it. So for Lenovo, they always work with big corporates. Okay, if you actually have a Lenovo laptop, they always work with McAfee. Okay.
Oh, McAfee, the security system, yeah.
Yes. So they actually, besides just selling laptops, selling devices, one of their revenue model is actually onboarding software. Okay. So for example, McAfee. Okay. So they over the years, they have been working with a lot of big corporates like McAfee themselves, but it made their offering not outstanding enough. That means it's not customized at all, or it's not even personalized at all. So they actually they do not want to actually start a new department to actually look at all the personalized offerings. So that is where they work together with us to look at the Southeast Asia. So their focus points is Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. So they actually have a widget at the site over there in which they actually only work with local companies that provide local content that the big corporate like McAfee can't, or the big corporate like CNN, because even like China, CNN, right, their material is very global. It's not customized. So that is where they actually want us to curate all the partners that are good to be on board into Lenovo ecosystem. So that is where we talk about, we actually bridge between corporates and also the startup as SME.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So what are the key steps for, sorry if you can hear this noise in the background. There's a gardener outside doing the landscaping there.
Right.
What are the key steps for scaling a business in Southeast Asia, would you say, from Blackstorm Consulting point of view?
Overview on top, there is around 4 major steps that we're looking out for. Okay, the very first step is you need to come up with a strategy. Okay, this strategy at the very initial stage should be very brief, okay? But at least you have certain direction. So the first thing I would say, you need to evaluate and plan from a strategy perspective, okay? So in terms of strategy, right, you will need to identify how are you going to scale your business, okay? When I say how are you going to scale your business, it can be, for example, I'm using the same products, okay? However, I'm actually reaching out to different target audience. This is a way you can actually scale your business. Or I can actually enter into new market. Like for example, if I'm a Singapore company, I would like to enter into Malaysia, okay? So you need to know how are you going to scale. This is the very first step that you need to identify. The second step is, what kind of scaling strategy will you like to take on? Okay, like for example, am I going in myself as a new corporation? Or am I going to do a joint venture with a partner? Or am I going to just do an M&A and buy out a small company over there? Okay.
M&A, by the way, people, if you don't know, merger and acquisition. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are some of the key considerations you will need to think about it. The second step is, what is your risk appetite? Okay. How risk averse are you? Okay, in terms of company, okay, because this risk will evolve in terms of the speed you are going to scale up, and also what is the level of uncertainty are you willing to take? Okay, some businesses, they actually take it as they are very risk averse. So I am making sure that I know exactly what is it in order for me to enter. But some of them are very risk taker. It's like, it's okay, I do not know the market well enough, but I'm going to set aside these resources to actually try out first. So it depends on what is all these elements. So you need to plan, okay? And you will need to reconsider and reevaluate your plans, because as you go along the way, most probably your plan will change, and most of the time it will change. Then you will need to ask yourself, are we on the right track for our expansion or for our scaling? Okay, do we need to actually pivot our plan? So this step is actually a continuous process. It's not like, oh, I've done this step, then I'm done. No, it's a continuous, when you keep on reviewing and pivoting. Okay. The second I would say is, you need to look at your resources. Okay. Resources can be, for example, internal and external. So for example, internal resources will be, do you have the fund to actually support the scaling operation? Okay. And what is the origin of the fund? Are you going to use the revenue that you are coming from your home country to invest on your scaling operation overseas, for example? Or are you going to seek external funding from an investor to actually support this? So you will need to actually plan this, okay? The second will be the team, okay? Why is it so? Is because in Southeast Asia, a lot of people view us as one country, like EU, like US, but we are very, very different, okay? We are very, very different. So, for example, in Singapore, we actually speak English, but in other Southeast Asia countries, they do not speak English, okay? Or some of the legal documents, right, is in the local languages itself. So this is something I will actually talk about it later. So when I talk about team, you need to set up the structure, okay? For example, the home country, and also if you're going overseas expansion to Southeast Asia, what is the communication? What is the responsibility? Okay, who is under to make sure that this works? And usually I will tell my clients that are coming from not within Southeast Asia. That means I have clients coming from, for example, US or even Europe. I will tell them, when they want to enter to Southeast Asia, the very first step is find a country that has the close culture to your home team. Because if internally you can't communicate well, or there is some culture barrier, it is going to be, you are going to face a lot of risk. So I will usually tell my overseas client from US, try to actually land in Singapore first, minimally, okay? Then you look at other Southeast Asia, okay? But for clients that are in the Southeast Asia zone, like Singapore company that would like to expand it out to other country, it will depend on the business opportunity. And it also depends on your external resources, which I will talk about it later. Okay, so team, the bottom line is, do you have the internal capability and capacities to support? Okay, if you do not have, you need to start hiring. Okay, and this team, most probably you are looking at both the home country itself and also the country, the country that you would like to expand into. Okay, because of educational level difference in Southeast Asia. For example, in Taiwan perspective, Taiwan, minimally we are looking at a master degree. Okay, to them, degree holder over there is actually considered the minority. Okay, however, in Singapore, we are looking at a degree holder. Yeah, so different countries have different definition of education and different expertise in terms of what are they focusing. So like Taiwan, they're very focusing on very green energy. So there's a lot of institutional support, there's a lot of government support. The schools are actually very involved in the green energy. However, if you see in Singapore, you do not see much green energy involvement. We are more towards...
Can I just say this about Singapore? I've never been to any of these Southeast Asian countries, but I know my cousin has been there because he does news stuff. I think he's on CBC or CBS. Is it CBS? Yeah, CBS, I think. And so he's traveled there a lot, but I understand from what he was saying is that Singapore, even though it's not green, it's very, very clean.
Yes, we are.
But sorry, go ahead.
Yes, there is a lot of rubbish bin over here. And but we are not as clean as the Japanese. Yes, Japanese is within their culture. They will keep the rubbish with them, but Singapore we don't, but we have a lot of cleaners. Yeah, so that is where in Singapore people actually look at us more towards the financial hub. So that is where a lot of fintech companies are involved. Okay, so you need to look at which verticals or which industry you are at. Okay, and what is the business potential? Because for example, if you're doing green energy, it might not be that attractive for the Singapore companies or the ecosystem. So this is one of they're looking at. And so linking back to the external, so for example, for Southeast Asia companies, right, when they want to expand to other Southeast Asia country, I will always tell them to look at their resources, external resources. What do I mean by external resources? It can be your current partners, your current clients that are using your product. They might have operation in other countries. So this can be your entry points to them. So just let me give you an example. If I'm a Singapore company, I have a client from Thailand. I also have client from Malaysia. So if the Malaysia client is actually giving me a very good revenue coming from them, I might want to enter to Malaysia first. Okay, and my entry method can be a joint venture with my Malaysia clients, because you will still need your local arms and legs. And by doing that, my risk is relatively low, because my Malaysia client can be my operation team over there, or it can be an advisory role over there in which I only bring my technology or my product over there. So it depends on what is your business, which business are you in, which sector are you in, okay, and where are you coming from? That means are you yourself as a Southeast Asia companies, or are you non-Southeast Asia entering the Southeast Asia? Yep. So the very third step, which is basically you need to upgrade your technology. Okay, what do I mean by upgrade technology? When you start scaling your business, we need to start automate certain processes. Okay, we need to keep a lookout at tools that can help to automate the process to make tasks easier. Or then the last step, the fourth step will be you need to revise your process. Okay, so relook at the process to streamline your current operation so that you don't spend too much time working on very gritty, nitty things. But that means you start automating tasks, or you remove certain red tape that you set up initially when you run your business in your home country. Okay, then you might want to set up a framework to support the scaling initiative. So these are a very broad category about the fourth step on how do you, if you want to enter the Southeast Asia, what are the steps you're looking at?
Fantastic, fantastic. So how should a company prepare to do business in, let's start with Malaysia first, because my understanding with Malaysia, there's, as you've said, with Singapore, they're specific to specific industries. They're very high on the fintech, and here in the UK, that's where we're going to have to go in terms, particularly London and fintech. with the Brexit happening, right? You know, a lot of companies are going to need to look at the and when I say fintech, for those who don't know, it's financial and technology merged together to call a new industry in fintech. So utilizing the financial sector and the processes of this financial sector in order to merge with technology, because everything's digital, everything's online now. So with Malaysia, it might be that are they more fashion orientated? So they're manufacturing there. But they're digital as well, aren't they? They're digital as well, because I know that Alibaba was going in there, making it more of a digital zone or something. But anyway, over to you with Malaysia.
So, to be very honest, right, whether are you entering to Malaysia, Indonesia, or Singapore, or other countries, right, the first is you need to enter the country. First landing ground in Southeast Asia need to be a similar culture. Okay, just now previously I did talk about similar culture for internal communication, but it also affects externally. Okay, let me just give you an example. If you're actually holding a product, okay, you're actually offering a product to your clients in UK, for example, you might want to enter into Singapore first. Why? Because Singapore, all your labeling is in English, and we are actually UK. We actually use UK English over here. We actually do GCE O level and A level in Singapore.
That's because, guys, coming back to me again, sorry. Singapore is part of the Commonwealth. So there's about 54, I think there's 54 countries in the Commonwealth, and Singapore is one of them. So yes, sorry, go ahead.
So a lot of UK companies, right, they will, even though Singapore might be a very small market, their first landing ground will be Singapore. They actually set Singapore as the Southeast Asia headquarter. Okay, this is first thing. Second thing is because Singapore, there is a lot of investors in Singapore. So a lot of people, when they try to enter into Southeast Asia, it can be a UK company trying to enter into Southeast Asia. What they do is they actually set up a company over there, and they get funding in Singapore market from the Singapore investor. Yep. So this is how they do it. So firstly, internally, there shouldn't be much differences in terms of communication, because English is our common language. This is first of all. Second of all, you wouldn't change too much in terms of your products and also your customer, because the customer behavior and the profiling might be similar, and the spending power should be quite close to the UK market. So having said that, right, when you actually bringing your products over to Singapore, there is very minimum changes. At most, you will just need to relook at your marketing strategy. Okay, yeah. So this is however, when you enter into Southeast Asia like Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, you will need to do a little bit about profiling of your customer, because earning power is very different. Okay, and then next is legal. Okay, like if you're carrying for certain products that you need to go through all the tests. So different local market got different kind of requirement. So in short, what I actually did is when country want to enter to all this Southeast Asia, there is four main key points that you need to take note of. Okay, the very first key point is languages. Okay, like in Singapore, we use English for our communication. But if you really come to Singapore, because of our population, we have around 70% Chinese over here. So even though you can't speak English, but as long as you speak Chinese over here, you still can actually, I would say, you still can actually move around in Singapore, because all our languages, they will first start off with English, followed by Chinese, and then the Malay for our Malay community, and lastly the Tamil. Okay, so but in terms of legal documents, like crafting of agreements and contract, is still in English. Okay, but if you actually flip to our neighboring country, our Malaysia, right, they yes, some of our clients in Malaysia, they speak English, but then they actually their recognized language is actually Bahasa Melayu. Okay, which is very different from Indonesia. Indonesia, even though it's a Malay Muslim country, what they use is Bahasa Indonesia. So just within the three country itself, right, we can use English, but we need to also keep into consideration English is not their first languages. So when English is not their first languages, there will be loss in translation. They may be lost in terms of what we are even referring to. So you will need to be a little bit more patient when you actually talk to all these Southeast Asia. So for example, myself, Um, Actually, in Malaysia, even though we speak Bahasa Melayu, the Chinese population in Malaysia is around 25% of the entire Malaysia. But different state of Malaysia, the Chinese speak different dialects. Yeah. So, like for example, in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, the Chinese population over there, they speak Cantonese. So Cantonese is a dialect that actually the Hong Konger are using. Yeah. So is Southeast Asia is very amazing how we actually interact. So for example, in Malaysia, there is another state we actually call Penang. So in Penang, we actually use Hokkien. So Hokkien is actually a dialect that the Taiwanese are using too.
Wow. And what I want to say here is that although we've got tons of languages in the world, in terms of business, English is the primary language of the world, and that's just a fact. So
Yeah.
when you're doing business, that's why there's a lot of in the UK and in the US, a lot of people will obviously go over there to learn English, right? So there's a lots of because business is usually done in English. So and as you say, when you do have those joint ventures and your business partner can speak dual between English and whatever other language they speak, then that's a brilliant thing. But I would guess that they would probably prefer you to maybe have a little bit of their language in order to sort of migrate into that particular culture, particularly if you want to do business there, particularly if you want to sort of really expand in those marketplaces. Okay, brilliant. And so why do you think it would be worthwhile, particularly for those outside of the Southeast Asian territory, the region there, for people from the UK and the people, particularly actually, let's look at the UK because obviously that's where I am. Why would it be important for people from the UK, particularly those in London, to expand into the Southeast Asia marketplace to progress their companies, their existing companies in those particular areas?
Yep. I think the first thing foremost is I think everybody know Southeast Asia or Asia itself, including China, is up and coming. In the recent years, I mean, in the 5 or 10 years, that is really upgrading. Because even in Singapore, I'm staying in Singapore, I can see my neighboring country like Indonesia. Okay, like Singapore, we even in Thailand itself, there's a lot of up and coming demand and supply of certain international goods or even higher standard of service offering, which the local markets cannot afford because they are relative, because of the lack of talents, they are unable to actually venture into those. So that is where a lot of international companies are coming over here to meet that demand. Okay, so this is one thing. And in terms of Southeast Asia, just to add on to just now the local language, a lot of UK companies, they would like to set up their headquarters in Singapore. Its reason is because firstly, we have Chinese over here in Singapore. So in Chinese, even though we speak English, we can speak Chinese to all the other countries, like for example, Taiwanese or even the China PRC that you are actually doing business with. Okay, and in Singapore, we also have the Malay. So in the Malay, a lot of Malay actually are being hired to actually do correspond or liaising with the Malaysia companies and also the Indonesia. So they actually use Singapore as a headquarter to actually not to buy, sell products, but actually to manage the neighboring Southeast Asia country. So in Southeast Asia, right, we have around a total of 11 countries, but to be very honest, we have more than 1,000 languages. Okay, and at most we actually have 9 major local language that we are using it, and 2 major foreign language, which is English and Mandarin. Okay, but as I said, in Malaysia, they use Bahasa Melayu to craft their contract. So you still need someone that can actually make sure that the contract that is in the right proper way, and to translate it into English to let you know, hey guys, this contract there isn't any red flags or anything you should take note of. So that is where I think Singapore is in a very strategic environment, because we both have multiple languages. We know multiple languages over here. So I think we also know that we have much more combined population in Southeast Asia. We have around 662 million. Okay, excluding China and India, we are the third largest labor force in the Asia itself, in the whole world. Okay, and Asian itself is expected to become the fourth largest economy, okay, in the world by 2030. We are just right after the US, the Chinese market. So I think there is still a lot of untapped potential that Asia have not really worked on it. So I think at this right now is a very good junction to come in. Firstly is because I think the US and the China war have actually causes a lot of businesses to shift their even like operation or manufacturing into other Southeast Asia. So when you do that, there is an inflow of money coming into the Southeast Asia market. So the money can be actually used to build infrastructure and so forth. And I think one of the trend that we are looking at is 5G that is up and coming. So 5G is going to restart everything again for the whole world on how we do things. So I think this 5G initiative can actually be a very good jump spot for all the Southeast Asia, because everyone is starting from ground zero again. So everybody needs to actually catch up with all the initiative or infrastructure in their own country. So I think that's where a lot of companies want to enter in Southeast Asia to actually prepare themselves before the start of 5G or even the start of inflow of money floating to other Southeast Asia countries.
I like that, actually, when you talk about the expansion and the difficulty between the US and China, and now a lot of these manufacturers are shifting their stuff over to the countries that Vietnam, exactly. What else we got? To actually make those products now, and so there's going to be gains from obviously Southeast Asia. They're going to be gaining a lot from this troublesome narrative that's happening between US and China. So, and that's brilliant for you guys there. But also you've got other Southeast Asian countries that were already out there in terms of their capabilities, and a lot of the people in the UK and the US recognize that. That's why they'll do a lot of outsourcing to countries like Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, because you've got obviously Singapore, because you've got that capabilities there, and to partner up and all that sort of stuff. So and that's what's progressive about it, which is great. So all of these female entrepreneurs who are co-founders and etc., who want to actually increase their capacity and make some good items, and make sure they get, obviously their IP is protected as well, then go to the likes of Southeast Asia, because they are reputable. Obviously there is talent there, and there is the utmost I guess reliability to make sure that there's not going to be a stripping of IP that you'd maybe potentially get from other countries, stripping that and taking it for their own and making it their themselves. Obviously you talked about contracts and stuff, so with Blackstorm Consulting, I'm sure you have the capabilities to be able to make sure the contracts are sound. And that no one's taking anyone's IP, intellectual property, and can't replicate their products there. And that's what I see with Southeast Asia. There seems to be a more, as I say, reputation there, with confidentiality and that sort of stuff, whereby you can feel that it's protected. Your company is protected over there. That's what I get anyway. Would you say the same thing? I'm sure you would.
But to be honest, if your country, you are not operating in Southeast Asia, please just land in Singapore first, because we are very similar. We are a Commonwealth country, as what Benjamin was saying. We are a Commonwealth country, and we are very efficient, and we laws over here actually protect all the IPs and the trademarks, and
exactly that. Exactly that. Yeah, that's exactly that. And that's what I get from it. So that's been brilliant. Thanks so much for your time, Shelby. Just stay there. I'm just going to finish off slightly with some final words, etc. And I'll come back to you in a minute, okay? Sure. So female founders, female entrepreneurs, co-founders, etc., focused on expanding your business to Southeast Asia, Shelby has provided the key steps on how Blackstorm Consulting can help, and how Singapore in particular is a stable and progressive environment to incorporate a business offshore, but also expand in the Southeast Asia region, actually doing the joint venture. And they've got obviously the key corporations and joint venture organizations that you can partner with in order to expand within those areas, within fintech, within technology, within manufacturing, and some other organizations. And gaming, and that's a big one actually. This e-sport, particularly in the US, is a big thing at the moment. So
Yes, right.
wow. And actually in Russia as well. I didn't realize this, but Russia as well. But anyway, yeah. Okay. So remember, now is always a good time to start a business, to expand your business and capitalize on the opportunities that may not exist within your own regions, that you can expand and increase your income in other regions because of instability within your own territories. Yeah. So Singapore, Southeast Asia in particular, or Singapore in particular, is a great country to do business in. So coming back to the Female Founders Virtual Summit, free access to the Female Founders Virtual Summit only gets you a limited access. Now, you can buy your unlimited access plus bonuses starting from $97 at lenabenjamin.com/virtual-summit if you are serious about kickstarting, expanding your business. You'll also have an opportunity to get unlimited access to over 6 hours of online masterclasses from global speakers and partners. Bonuses include a digital event magazine with action tips, workbook, special discounts, etc., worth $100. Empower Business with a 12-month online membership with resources, templates, discounts, and special invitations worth $300. You'll get that, and you can find out more about that on lenabenjamin.com/empowerbusiness. And there's also an opportunity to get online coaching sessions worth over $2,000. Now, have you got any other words of wisdom or call to action, Shelby, that you would like to provide people listening in on this particular masterclass?
Sure. My take is a lot of founders or a lot of companies owners, they would like to actually do the expansion themselves. You can do that, but what we are actually adding value is we are trying to actually increase the success rate that you are in, and also at the same time leveraging on all our clients like Lenovo or the rest to actually assist you in your market entry. So we have a lot of clients that actually manage to actually go to the next. It can be SME that manage to go into the next level of growth, or it can be a market entry, or it can be you would like to actually come up with something as you yourself as a big corporate. You would like to actually do some offering or partnership with SME and you do not know how to. So that is where maybe you let us know. We can see how we can actually help you in this Southeast Asia contract.
Fantastic. And you can go to Blackstorm
co.asia.
To find out more about Blackstorm Consulting there, and how Blackstorm Consulting can help. And obviously Google, great thing. Shelby's on LinkedIn, etc. Touch base with them. Do you offer like free consultations via Zoom and Skype and all that, or just to get?
We are open. Yeah.
Brilliant. Perfect. All right. Thanks very much, Shelby. Just hold the line there. Perfect. I'm Lena Benjamin, host and creator of the Female Founders Virtual Summit and the Empower Her Global podcast. This masterclass has been with Shelby T, co-founder at Blackstorm Consulting. Visit lenabenjamin.com to get involved in the virtual summit, find out a bit more about Shelby and her bio there, or the podcast. So thank you for being here. We hope you've been empowered. Please take action to progress. Thanks very much, Shelby.
Thank you.